Hey friends, it's Danielle with Schoolhouse Rud. The season of thankfulness, fall. I love the fall. It's my favorite time of the year, actually. I really enjoy watching the leaves change colors. The weather starts to be more tolerable, and hopefully, where we live, we'll get some snow again this year. These last few months have been a bit rough, and I haven't felt like myself until recently, so I decided to celebrate by crafting again. Each of these crafts will incorporate wood, so starting first with this giant pumpkin sign, grab 3 of these turkey trays from Dollar Tree. I painted each one with a pumpkin-colored chalk paint and did some contouring with the brown. I'll use hot glue to attach, but here I'm just showing the layout of what they will look like and how to stack them when you glue them. First though, let's work with that center plate, and we're going to take some hot glue and use this pre-made bow from Dollar Tree, securing it along, and we're going to use the tie backs from it to go around this stem. I grabbed one of these wood pieces and used it to create a stem. Here is what that looks like, and I used hot glue to secure it to the back and tied it with the tie straps. Secure all 3 in place with hot glue and you have this beautiful and large pumpkin sign. I just put some jute string on the back to hang mine up, and look how gorgeous this turned out. I love this. If you get this reference, you're awesome. Leave me a comment below and tell me where it's from. So I found this printable and I went ahead and printed that and grabbed a wood round, also from Dollar Tree. I'm playing around with the fit of it. I wanted to make sure that the entire thing fit on the circle, and I went ahead, traced that out, and cut it out. Once again, go ahead and check the fit, and don't worry about these edges. We're going to take care of that in just a minute. But for the time being, go ahead and grab your Mod Podge and slather it on the wood round. Give that a nice even coat and let it get a bit sticky. Then, taking the paper, you'll want to spritz it with a mist or 2 of water. You'll want it to be just the slightest bit wet so that it will stick to the surface. I find the transfer process is a ton better when the paper is slightly damp. Grab that Mod Podge and we're going to brush a very thin coat on the paper, and because of the moisture, we can easily smooth out any little bubbles or wrinkles that appear. Learn from my mistake here. With a light hand, not a heavy hand, you will just distress the front of it a tiny bit, and I'm going to show you. See, I got a little too heavy-handed and accidentally took too much off. I'm going to fix that, and then take your sanding block and with a downward motion go over the edges, and because everything is Mod Podged, look, the extra just comes perfectly off. No more crazy edges. Just sand it with the sander in a downward motion and you are good to go. Now you can leave your sign like this, but I had to go one step further. So now is a perfect time to tell you about this What Would You Make challenge collaboration that I am a part of. We have some wonderful hostesses and we have an amazing talent list. So check the description box and make sure you go show these channels some love. Grab a wooden plank and turkey cutout from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use antique wax to show you this staining technique that I absolutely love. I am using a baby wipe and some of the wax. Now, the reason why you want to use a baby wipe is because we're going to actually wipe up a lot of the product, but we're also spreading it at the same time. So even though it looks dark and even though it looks like we're using a lot, you're giving the wood a darkened, stained effect, but it's going to come out so gorgeous. I did the same thing to both sides of Mr. Turkey here, and because we have such a dark base, we're going to use paint with a very muted tone, and we're going to use that same technique to apply it with the baby wipe, and you're going to see that the brightness comes out very muted and almost like a stained effect as well. So I went ahead and used orange for the feet and the beak. And this amazing color called Barn Red for the wattle. This stained look rather than bright was exactly what I was going for. I used a Sharpie to draw a dot for the eye, and then I took our circle from the last craft and just glued it with wood glue right there in the middle of the feathers. I weighed that down and let it dry while grabbing the piece of wood we stained earlier and 6 tumbling tower blocks from the set that comes in the 2 different tones. I glued 3 of them together like this in a row and did that twice, so I have 2 rows of 3. Now I'm going to assemble a base for the turkey to stand upright upon. I ultimately decided on this positioning, so I grabbed the tumbling tower blocks and I used glue to secure it to the bottom wood piece, and then I secured it to the turkey as well. Now you have to hold everything in place while the glue gets tacky, but essentially I was able to set up some things to stand it upright and it turned out amazing. This is so our centerpiece for Thanksgiving, y'all. I just love the farmhouse look of it, even though it's got Thanksgiving colors in it. Now, the final piece, the cornucopia. I used a leftover tinsel witch hat from Halloween and unraveled all the tinsel. I really just wanted the shape of the hat, and you'll see why. It looks like a cornucopia. So I took this wood give thanks little laser cut word that I had and the pumpkin chalk paint, and I painted the letters and set them aside to dry. Covered the entirety of the shape with some postage packaging paper, and I took some burlap ribbon that I had and hot glued it to the edges of the front part of the cornucopia, which was the brim of the witch's hat. I only put hot glue on the edges, and I really wanted it to look like different layers. See how there's sections of it? So now I'm going to just distress it a little bit, wrinkle up the actual length of the cornucopia just to make it look more realistic and less like packaging paper. And then I glued down my give thanks word sign. I made a bow out of that same burlap ribbon that I used to wrap the edges of the cornucopia, and I made a little hanger for it on the back. After securing the bow, I grabbed the fake food items that I was going to use for this project. So I have this corn that actually came from Dollar Tree, and I'm using an apple from the Apple Valley orchard that we recently went to on a field trip. We had apple juice in here, and what a great way to recycle the bottle, right? I also glued down a foam craft pumpkin from Dollar Tree, and this is the back. So I wanted to wrap some more of that paper to it to have some support. Then I took a wooden bead and glued it to the ribbon and painted the rest of them with this color, Wild Grapes. I mean, how perfect is that color's name? Because we are going to make a cascade of grapes coming out of the cornucopia, gluing these into a shape with the back side of that bag that we glued as support. And that's all there is to it. I just hung it with the existing fall wreath I had already out, and it turned out so cute. This was absolutely better than I expected. I've been wanting to make this for such a long time now, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to make it come to life. So once again, please remember to check the description box for the collab What Would You Make challenge. And thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad to be feeling like myself again and like crafting. And remember, there's so many things that so many of us are going through right now. Times are uncertain, but there's so much to be thankful for. And sometimes we have to go through the dark times to get to the light to see that double rainbow. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.